So welcome. This is the second of our event series of EAs of Tomorrow. And this was going to be focused around emotional versus artificial intelligence. Lovely to see returning delegates, lovely to see some new faces, despite the awful weather that we had over the weekend. Glad everybody could make it in and the bridge wasn't closed. But for those that are new here, just going to run down what this series is about. This series is about giving you space. Sorry, this microphone's not the best, but this series is about giving you space of your own. You're the ones that so often put time and energy into supporting everybody else's growth, connection, and development. It's easy for your own opportunities to be overlooked. So I have the privilege of working with this community, both here and in the UK, for over 20 years now. And as technology and AI reshapes the way we all work, the real edge will always come from how we connect as people. So that's why we're here, to learn, to share, and to most importantly, to connect with each other. So this is your space. So I'm just going to kick off with a little bit of housekeeping for everybody. We've got bathrooms to my right, there's one toilet here, and then there's two further toilets downstairs. There isn't a pin code required to get into those toilets, so you can just ask a tribe or staff. There's tea, coffee, water and food still up on the side there. Please continue to help yourself as we go through the session today. You don't need to stay seated, you can get up and move around, that's all good. Emergency exit just the way we came in, so downstairs. Just want to check, have we got Slido running for questions? We do. So, we have Slido running for questions throughout the event. So there will be a QR code that comes up on the screen, just looking at marketing here, turning a little bit of guidance. There will be a QR code that comes up on the screen, so time permitting at the end of this, we will run through some questions. Feel free to put your questions into Slido, or we can go old school at the end and just throw some questions out to the floor as well. I just want to say a massive thank you to the sponsors for this event. So we have Asano and Blush. They provided us with lovely goodie bags. Make sure you grab one on the way out. It is a first come, first serve. It looks like we've got a full house today, which is incredible. And lastly, we've got a hamper to draw, which will be done right at the end. This is done from our final delegate list. So if you're not here, we will redraw this time around. I don't think we redrew last time. So I think that is all my housekeeping bits and pieces. I do have marketing to my left, keeping me on track for time. I know this audience loves to be punctual and on time, and Zoe and I like to have a chat. So if I kind of move on quickly, it's because we're just trying to get to time for everybody. So just a quick introduction. I know many of you in this room, which is lovely and amazing, but some of you might not know me. So I'm Kathy, I've been at Tribe for 6 years. I lead the business, accounting and customer support teams at Tribe. I've had 15 years prior to this in agency recruitment across the UK and New Zealand. And that's been building and developing and leading teams that support candidates and clients with their business support recruitment. So I'm originally from the UK, might not sound like it. I've been back and forth to New Zealand from a young age and resettled here 12 years ago. On the sunny Hibiscus coast, although it hasn't been and wasn't that sunny this weekend, with my husband, who's from Scotland, my 2 dogs, pugs, and my 8-year-old daughter. So less about me, more about Zoe, who is our favourite talker, who is our guest speaker for today. And I'm going to introduce Zoe. So I feel pretty lucky to have been introduced to Zoe earlier this year. I've heard her name come up through the works for several years, mostly in good ways. And getting to know her has been fun, inspiring, and pretty fascinating. So bringing her into the series felt like a bit of a no-brainer for me. Zoe brings with her and will share an incredible story. After 15 years as a C-suite EA across London and then New Zealand, she joined Emily as the executive assistant to the CEO, leading the workplace experience team and working closely on strategy delivery. She was quickly then recognised for her potential, stepping up from EA to general manager, showing grit, commercial acumen and strategic clarity. Today, Zoe manages SNP's award-winning, just thought I'd throw that in there, international visitor business, Orbit Protect, which is a company that provides insurance for people coming into New Zealand temporarily, from seasonal workers to international students and working holidaymakers. So you can see why I felt Zoe's journey was too good not to share. Now to set the scene, we do have a few slide prompts to guide us, but be assured they're just a backdrop, not the main event. Grab your coffee, relax. This is about just good, honest chat, and the gold will no doubt be in Zoe's stories. Pressure. Okay, so I need to run this slideshow as well, so bear with me. Slido. Does anyone want to take the QR code? We have someone ask any questions, or we can go completely old school at the end. Okay. So, one of the key things that I love about your story, Zoe, is how you've gone from being that classic kind of support role and really stepping into leadership. So our first question for you is, when did you really first feel that shift from supporting to leading?
So when I moved into, when I became an EA, it was kind of my first real job from out of uni. I went to art school, dropped out of uni, got a job as an EA, and I've always had an issue with people telling me what to do. So for me, I was like, I work for the CEO or do something else. And so I went into the EA role on the assumption that I kind of had this partnership with who I was working with. And in London, one of the partners I used to work with, we used to have these networking events. And I used to say, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I work for David. And he jumped in at one point, pulled me aside, and he said, you don't work for me, you work with me. And for me, that was one that stuck and it stayed with me. Like, I do work with you. Like, yeah. And I've always loved being in the EA. It's like the best job. I'm jealous of the full run. Looking after our CEO now, amongst many other things. But when I joined LAB, I was like, I need to stop. Like, if at any point anyone thinks this is boring, please move on, or if you've got questions, just ask Neil. I was like, I need to reposition myself. It's like, I'm sick of having, well, not sick of it, but I've done 10 years of being like the fun one and having banter and doing the events and just having a good time at work. And I got to the point where we looked at house prices. It's like, okay, I need a career, I've got to take it seriously now. And so I changed my outfits, I joined NIB, and it was this new me, work Zoe and not work Zoe. And I was this kind of pretend persona when I joined. And I didn't realise kind of the shift had happened until I was walking past a little kitchenette that we used to just use for board meetings. I heard someone in there going, oh, this morning Zoe said I could. It's like, Zoe sick is a thing, what? And so at NIB, I realised that you project an image, and you project an image, but people kind of believe what you say and take the way that you say it in some kind of way. And then as that progresses, you start realising, as EAs, emotional intelligence is massive, and you don't realise, we don't know how to explain to people when they say, what do you do? It's like, God, what do you like? I don't know, but everything runs because I'm in this run. And when I moved into a strategic, I'm starting to waffle now, sorry, but sorry. When I moved into a strategic projects role, mergers and acquisitions has always been a massive part of NIB strategy, and it was a top secret one, and I said to my CEO, when we move, it'll be fun, like I got this, shit, I got this, but let's pretend. And we're in the room, and we came out, he said, how did you think it went? Like, what do you think they care about, what's important to them? And I was like, oh, that one there, which one you mentioned, people, like they sat forward. When you started talking about the P&L, and that one sat forward. And he started making notes of what mattered to each of the people in the room. And it's then, it hit me that the skills that we have, you don't know how to put into words what they actually are, how much difference they make into what you can do and what you can contribute. And so, it was huge.
What was the shift? The way you said you work, or you were told you work with me,
Yeah.
not for me.
Yeah.
That's quite a shift as well. Okay, so I love that. It ties into something a lot of people here are probably thinking. Let me just move across to my slide deck. So, the trust piece, which I think is quite big. It's one thing to make that shift, which it sounds like you did at NIB, or you did at NIB, but it's another to really earn the trust of your execs and be seen as more than the person just running those systems or running those spreadsheets or meetings. So how did you kind of build that level of trust? So
it takes, there's no sugarcoating it, like everybody in this room knows, it takes a lot of time, effort and attention to detail, and once you start getting comfortable with the detail and things running through, people notice when things aren't flawless, that they don't notice when they are, and so you get to a point in your role where you've thought about everything, and so it's whether our old CEO now, Rob, not ex rather than years old, but ex-CEO, he used to have a quote on the book by this guy called Jay Danzig that said, your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card, how you leave others feeling after having experience with you becomes your trademark. And so when he put that up on the wall, it's like, okay, this matters then, how people feel, and they walk away. And so for me, it's when you're meeting someone, whether it's a stakeholder, whether it's your CEO, whether it's on the board, whether it's just one of your team, not just, but whether it's one of your team, it's you want people to walk away feeling good about themselves and then good about you. And every tiny thing that you do feeds into that. And so yes, you've got the detail, or it's you walking around and all the blinds are the same height and all the chairs are pushed in. It's like there's like the neatness in terms of physicality. But if you put I found if I put myself in Rob's shoes, it's what does he need for what he's doing? And so it's literally think what he's going to get out of bed at this time, so he's been taxi at this time, he'll be wearing this at this time, and he'll get to the meeting and it's who's he meeting with? Okay, so he's meeting with the CEO of this organisation. What prep does he need? What can I put in terms of their strategy, or their recent acquisitions, or their P&L, what they had, like a good year, a bad financial year, a bad year winning, are they losing? It's what's important to them. And so you go through the journey of the functionality, but then how, from a strategic lens, do you start adding extra bits of value to something they don't have to do? If you're in a position, or I felt I was in a position where I could do that as you start having those conversations that are beyond the day-to-day and what's required of me in my role, the trust comes. And then you start doing it with your CEO's leadership team, and so he would be writing his board papers, they would be submitting their papers, and I was in a position where I knew what he as a CEO expected or wanted or was important to him, or whether he liked long papers or short papers. And when you're able to go back to that team on the side and just be like, hey guys, this is shit, cut it down, start with this and reword it, other people start appreciating the work that you're doing, but see you as more than an individual who's on the side working with just one person, and it helps with those relationships.
I had a conversation with somebody this morning about doing something very similar to that, so it makes perfect sense. Is there one particular thing that you can think of if you were to give a bit of advice to somebody either starting out or somebody looking to kind of elevate and build their trust? Is there one kind of thing that you would say?
Can I do two?
Oh, well, of course, absolutely.
The questions for me are the biggest thing. You can't, I couldn't be the best I was unless I understood why. And so if my CEO went to a meeting, I would ask him afterwards, how did that go? Did you get what you wanted from that? And by asking...
So almost like feedback?
Kind of, from the meeting, but it's the more you understand how their brain works and what's important to the business, the more you understand as a strategy what is important, what am I focusing on, what am I prioritising, where can I keep adding more value. And so if I knew whether a meeting with a client or partner had gone well, or just the response from it, because it's a name on a piece of paper, it's everyone's important. But when it's, you get that, oh yeah, it's just a catch up, it's like, okay, sweet, I know, they're not focused. But when it's, oh actually, this happened, they did this, it helps understand. It's like in the microphone, it's really like loud.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
It's not embarrassed at all.
Yeah, I know.
The questions anyway, is the more questions I ask, the more I understand the inner workings and then what was either a focus for my CEO or the rest of the team and what just didn't matter as much.
Curious.
Yeah. What was the question?
Let's stick with the one. I think that was good. We can move probably on to the next question, which was around mindset shift. So this question is, what mindset kind of shifts help you move into a more strategic role? So as we think about AI coming at us, we want to also think about kind of our emotional intelligence and how we need to kind of shift our mindset to be prepared for AI, if you like. But what are the kind of key shifts for you and the kind of impact of that move?
When you think about reactive and proactive, if you're in a new job, for example, you're going to be reactive. If you're learning, you're understanding what needs to be done, if you've got what is on paper as what needs to happen. Regardless, even now I'm hassling about trying to get some insider intel of what's in the diary. The diary is like the tell-all of everything that's happening and everything that matters. And so when I got to the point where with the team everything's under control from a reactive perspective, it's what's happening in 3 months' time that I can focus on now. And so who's giving a talk, who needs to speak at an event, what board meetings are on the agenda next quarter, and start thinking ahead about what's happening. Then you can start to see that you're adding value, because the relief on someone's face when you give them the prep work that they then need to go and do something with it a month's time or 2 months' time starts making so much difference. But along with that comes the confidence to do it. And so there's a lady who's got a TED talk called Amy Cuddy, that's she's got one called Power Posing, that's one of like the top TED talks of all time. But she's got another one and she talks about don't fake it till you make it, fake it till you become it. And so I loved it because it was like, oh God, like, am I okay to say this? Like, is it my place? And it's, hell yeah, it's my place. Like, as long as you back yourself, you can't really go wrong. Well, you can.
I was going to say, have to do it in the right way, because there's confidence in it's doing it in a way that's going to have an impact.
There is, and this is one of the things I think as EAs we've got an advantage over everyone else, because you can read how people take things and how people want to hear things. And so for EAs, it's often a lot easier to have it's often a lot more difficult to have a conversation about yourself, because you're not used to being the person that's the focus, but it's easier to have a conversation when you understand what someone's drivers are and what motivates them. What my husband says I'm a psychopath, because sometimes I talk about like how do I manipulate the person to get what I want from a situation, but it's in a nice way. It's how do we get the right result that we need, and what behaviours you have to pick on with each person to get that in a non-psychopathic way.
No. Okay, thank you. Now the next question is around maybe a practical step or some practical steps. So what's one tangible thing an EA could do maybe right now to act more like a strategic partner, blending the tech side but also the human insight side of things? Is it like a skill or a habit that might have helped you to operate at a higher level?
I would say get across your strategic plan, whatever your business's strategic plan is. I used to look at the strategic plan from a formatting lens. It was, is the spacing right? Are the columns, does it look nice when you look on the page? And it was kind of a document that's for the company. And it's so minor, but the mindset shift when you start using language in the conversations that you're having is like all about perception. And so for other people, it's the perception when you're having conversations and you're using words from the strategic plan or similar, whatever your business has, starts making a massive difference in how others perceive you and what you can do and the value you can add.
What if the relationship is not that open? So what if the strategic side of things is not necessarily there for the taking?
You see that having conversations with your peers or your team, like often you feel a bit awkward having a conversation that's not what you're comfortable with. I can talk to my friends, for example, about what our P&L looks like and what, but when people in the office hear you having those conversations with other people, pick someone who you know is interested in asking questions. I once saw our finance team do a monthly P&L and they send out the results, and there's so many numbers on the page. Which one is the one I'm looking at? And I asked our CEO, out of all of those, if you picked one, which one is the one that means something to you and why? And he told me. And I started looking at that number, and then it's you start picking it up, it's you get it, and so one question or one association with the right words starts kind of spiralling in a good way.
Thank you. Okay, so we talked about the here and the now, the steps and some habits.
You said the hair and the names. I was like, no, I'll do this.
We can talk about the here and the now, the steps, habits and shifts that might make a difference. But I know, especially after our first session that we did around AI, I know a lot of people will be wondering what's next. So with AI moving pretty fast, we know emotional intelligence is becoming more valuable. But the big question is the future of the EA role. So looking ahead, how do you see the EA role evolving over the next 5 years or so? And where do you think the biggest opportunities will be for EAs?
I think people say it, but definitely get more comfortable using AI tools, even if it's like I typed up some notes and then I put it in ChatGPT to make this better. And getting comfortable with the technology, just so you're comfortable with the technology. But AI is not going to replace this role. If AI isn't going to be able to pick up on the nuances of different people's behaviours, or what people really think when they say, like, someone says things, they don't mean that. And it's those skills that AI is not going to be able to replace. And so personally, I think it's going to become more of a strategic role rather than a transactional role. There's tools to do things, but AI can only do so much. It still needs a person to kind of control the inputs and the outputs.
That's good. I think everybody in the room is pleased to hear that as well. So basically we're saying staying future fit means embracing a little bit of change, so it's that AI piece.
Yeah, not even change, like even the scale of change, it's more evolution. It's and keep picking the things that you're good at and you enjoy doing and let the tools do everything you don't want to.
We did have another AI, we've done an AI series at each tribe, lots of different industries, and we say AI will do the low value tasks first, and not to have it do the high value bits and pieces. So that's kind of made me rethink quite a lot of things. So low value, repetitive type tasks in the first instance. So
back in the day, expenses was so dull and boring, and now
it was a finance event that we were talking about. So expenses were deemed as low value, low risk. Look, okay, that's us done from a questions perspective, but I'd love to throw it out to the floor just to see whether anybody has any questions. I don't know whether anything's come through Slido, but does anybody have any questions for Zoe? Mary?
I do need to ask Zoe. I'm Erin Wilson from Auckland Council. I wanted to talk to you about the difference between personal power and positional power and how you make that work.
and so in an organisation like my role, it comes back to the confidence thing and not being, you've got a role for a reason, you're good at what you do, and so often people doesn't know what role they're in, whether they're in an EA role, a finance role, a business analyst role. People think it's not my place, like, I shouldn't get involved, and just having some confidence to be bold and question or speak out when things don't look right, or pick what makes a difference, but be comfortable saying it. The first few times it does, I swear quite a lot, so sorry, I'm trying to say make you shit yourself, but it does a little bit when you feel like you're straying out of your lane, and just getting more comfortable with talking about things or putting yourself forward and offering suggestions in what's maybe out of your lane that actually make you do better.
Yeah, like we all attend our lead team meetings, which is our directors and lead reports, and then we're sitting around the table in the boardroom where I'm expected to contribute and participate. And I think for some of us it's a little bit daunting sometimes. And also it's about how you couch your questions or how you couch your thoughts, because you want them to land in a certain way.
Yeah, I like the we rather than I or you, and so it's have
Well, we've got bosses who say that you work with me, not for me, and that's how I see it. So
when in those forums, I remember when I first started joining them, and it was, for me, it was about preparing, and so it was come up with a couple of either quotes or questions, but no question is a stupid question. And people love it when they get to feel like they know things, and so actually you're making someone feel better about themselves and you just by asking them.
Yeah, so there's a certain feature of the curiosity factor in how you ask the question, yeah?
There's this thing called the Ben Franklin effect, and so Benjamin Franklin, the ex-president, he had this guy who he didn't really get on with, and this guy had a really rare book, and so he asked the guy if he could borrow his book. And the guy was like, oh, okay, because he'd asked, so he lent him the book. Benjamin Franklin didn't read the book, kept it for like a month, and then gave him the book back and sent him this note about how grateful he was and how thankful he was that he'd lent him the book. And then the guy was like, I love Ben Franklin, because he felt like he'd helped him. He had to justify internally why he helped him, and that must have been because he liked him. So it's I guess a little bit psychopathic, but watching people.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other questions on the floor? Yes, or more?
So you're in a GM role now, is it?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know what that transition was like from PA to GM, and what was like the biggest challenges?
So I moved at some point in my EA role. I said to my CEO, give me the title and pay me the salary for what I'm actually doing. He was like, okay, shit, what's that look like? And so I moved into a head of strategic projects role. I was looking after our mergers and acquisitions. And it's really, there was no change. That was an evolution of what I was doing, with a bit more focus on owning projects rather than working alongside other execs. And one of the acquisitions, is that me making ding? Okay. One of the acquisitions was inbound international visitors insurance business. And when we bought it, our CEO said, do you want it? And I said, oh, I do think I could do it. And he was like, right, forget it, don't worry about it, I'll give it to someone else. And he wanted me to say, hell yeah, I want it. So I was like, shit, no, yes, I do want it, yes, definitely. And it's secretly worry about it, but then just, nobody knows how to do anything until they do it. None of my colleagues or my peers are going to be, like, no one in the businesses or in our international businesses and run it. And so, why can't I do it? And so again, it was the just, fake it till you make it. Jumped straight in, but I knew I had his backing. He obviously wouldn't have offered it if he didn't think I could do it. So it was, jumped straight in and like, it's going really well. We've got the highest engagement since the
Do you think that people still, like, I've heard people say this perception that once you're an EA, you're kind of always seen as the EA, that you ever break out of that, or do you think people still see it?
Some people do, and those people don't matter.
Yeah.
There's always going to be people who are a bit, I hate it that I used to do it. I always used to do it, I'm just an EA, and you've got to drop the just. And so there are always going to be people who think, oh, she's an EA. Well, who cares? Screw you. Go and have a nice life. Like, I know I'm really good at what I do. We know we're really good at what we do. And anyone who thinks otherwise, and their opinion doesn't really matter.
You inspired a whole group of people.
You guys!
Thank you.
More questions before we... Oh yes, lots of questions.
Were there certain skills that you had to really develop? Presentation skills, for example, and how to overcome that delay.
There's a couple actually. I used to hate public speaking, and then I, years and years ago, got asked to speak at a conference, and they offered a coach as part of it, which was like, okay, someone's telling me what to do, and when I the first one I ever did, I was like, I'm just going to pretend I'm my CEO, because if I pretend I'm doing it for him, or I pretend I'm doing an impression of him, it kind of removes that it's on me, and so there's that kind of weird disassociation, but also learning the kind of tangible steps that you have to go through to do it. But I also put my hand up a lot for training, and so I know I find finance side of things more boring, but I know I have to be good at it and know what I'm talking about. And so in university do a whole bunch of courses. We have the team do those finance and non-financial managers. And there's also, we're kind of in the role where you can pitch for this as a leadership team. Why don't we send people who are comfortable with reading a balance sheet or whatever on this course, and so you can create the opportunities for yourself? Yes, like definitely, it's like pick what I wanted to be better at, what I knew I didn't enjoy so much, and learn how to do better.
Imagine you're a good presenter.
That makes sense.
I'm Kieran from the Dublin. What was one of the most rewarding things about World Cup, about being an AA?
When you see that you've made a difference, and so I really enjoyed the role. I loved working with the CEO, but being the person who they came to. And so having that relationship in a professional capacity where somebody knows how good you are, but will phone you up for your opinion or your view on something over their CFO or anyone else in the exec team, is that for me is what made me love the role the most.
Any more questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Zoe. Okay. So I think that was informative and enjoyable for everybody. Okay, so round of applause for that.